Eli just alluded to the fact how many people have become Shomrei Torah mitzvos in our community. Even those who have just begun their odyssey, there's no question that they're on their way to perhaps returning to study the Chavrusa in the future, and hopefully as they marry, to consider a day school education, yeshiva education for their children. It's now my great privilege and really high honor to introduce Eric Weinberg. Eric Weinberg has been part of RJX since 2006. I'm going to mention several programs. There's the Maimonides program, the Lakewood Fellowship. There's Ma'or, there's Sinai Retreats, Yeshiva Light. He's done it all. He moved to Highland Park as a graduate student, became one of the founding members of the Thursday night Yeshiva track Sholem Shir. He's involved in Tomchei Shabbos, packing up food and delivering, and he also, along the way, became Shomer Shabbos. Several months ago, I happened to be at a learning program for RJX, and Eric stood up and made the following declaration. I'm studying Sefer HaChinuch. I have a few mitzvos left. I'd like to make a siyum. Are there any volunteers here who can help me, can study with me, so I can make a siyum? He made a siyum, and I think that that's really an incredible, incredible accomplishment. I think we should all acknowledge it for what it is. Eric has since moved to Baltimore, although he admitted to me that Highland Park is really still his home. In fact, he told me that he believes that he has had Shabbos or Yontif meals in 75 homes. He decided to stop. It was too much. 75 homes. Without further ado, I'd like to present the Alumnus Award to Eric Weinberg. Eric, where are you? The award says, this is the Alumnus Award presented to Eric Weinberg for your devotion to the Rutgers students and chesed in the Highland Park community.
Eli mentioned that I guess I'll have to tell some life-altering stories. So hopefully the ones I have with me meet that criteria. I do have a few stories that I'd like to share. But first, I wanted to take a moment to mention today is my father's yahrzeit. 22 years ago, he had a heart attack and passed away at the age of 40. I was 3 years old, so I don't remember it. I don't remember this happening. I don't even remember him because I was so young. I just turned 3. And really, any memory I have of him, I think, is actually just from family videos or stories that relatives told me. It's all just broken images, and really, I don't remember him. And actually, this didn't bother me for the past, I guess, 20 years or so. I actually thought it was much easier and that it was better that way. It's a little weird to say, but basically, every once in a while there'd be a awkward conversation with somebody. They'd find out that my father wasn't alive. They would feel, be apologetic, and I would say it's fine. I don't really remember him. It doesn't, there was, I didn't have any memory. There was no connection, so there was no pain. And really, I just convinced myself that it wasn't a big deal. And on reflection with actually some of the stories that I'd like to share, I came to a realization that, hopefully I can share these stories and, in honor of my father and also the amazing organization RJX and the whole Highland Park community. So here's the first story. Really, when I was growing up, I didn't have the, an optimal Jewish education. And the people around me weren't so enthused about Torah, and there really weren't many outlets for me to learn what being a Jew really actually meant. When I got to Rutgers, immediately they started filling that gap of what, just what I didn't learn and what I was missing out on. I experienced a real Shabbos dinner, real Jewish families. First time I actually even heard the word Gemara and learned what that was, and a Gemach. That was a pretty cool concept when I found out about that. Before long, through RJX's introduction, the Jewish identity that I had a strong Jewish identity, but it was really just a superficial, I'm proud to be Jewish, I don't know what it means. That turned into a very strong connection to my Jewish heritage and the generations before me who have done the same things, read the same books, had the same things that they were confused about and asked the same questions, and just I immersed myself in my entire Jewish heritage. I have RJX to thank for introducing me to that and to show me what I was missing out on. And really that was the difference and the critical point that I was, didn't recognize about, my father. I didn't miss him because I didn't know him, but I was, missing out, and I didn't realize the enormity of that until I reflected on this. Luckily, because of RJX, I was able to learn to, catch up on what I was missing out on. I guess that's not necessarily the case with my father, but what I'm missing out on, like if there was a chance to meet him, know him, some magic or something, I would take that opportunity. Fortunately, I have that opportunity with RJX and learning about Judaism. But RJX didn't just do that. There was a lot more. They provided an environment where I could learn and a forum where they answered incessant questions and even helped me focus and refocus when I needed. Quite some time ago, I was discussing with Rabbi Lewis some of my issues and frustrations and feelings of being overwhelmed and incapable of handling just the whole concept of rabbinic law, rabbinic mitzvahs. And he's like, you know what? Worry about all the Torah ones first, and then we'll talk. He just said, like, fine. If you have an issue, worry about those, and then we'll talk. So then I realized I didn't even know what the Torah ones were. As Larry mentioned, I took up a pretty major project, learning the entire Sefer HaChinuch in a fair amount of detail. I was trying to count, there's at least a dozen people in here right now that learned at least one mitzvah with me. Anybody want to raise their hands who learned some Sefer HaChinuch with me? There's a bunch, they're all like concentrated over there, and probably some people also that didn't raise their hands that forgot. But I learned it all with a lot of people, and that, it was an amazing thing. It was, I never knew that I was capable of taking such a major thing on myself, and it was fulfilling isn't the right word to describe the feeling in the end. Really, when I became a bar mitzvah, back at my synagogue growing up, I had this feeling, this confusion. I was like, okay, so they tell me I'm a Jewish adult, but I don't know what that means, and I just didn't get it, and there was this weird gap or emptiness that I had for like 10 years. I guess it was 10 years. When on the anniversary of my bar mitzvah parsha, the 10th anniversary of my bar mitzvah parsha last year, I made the siyum on the Sefer HaChinuch, and that feeling went away. I really started to understand what the basics were of being a Jew. You kind of get a little bit of a picture when you go through that many pages in the 5-volume set. So it was an amazing thing. And by the way, when I was learning all of this stuff, I didn't know where it was taking me. I never really pictured myself as an observant Jew, kosher and Shabbat and all the other stuff. Even, a lot of the weird mitzvot, I guess they're not so weird, but, to me, not being able to use a razor to shave my face, that just seemed a little weird. Still kind of don't completely get that one. Like, I learned it, but, like, it's, there's no idol worship today. I don't know. It's, one of those things. But I think really what it was to be honest, I was put off by the idea of being religious and probably most likely just afraid of the change. But slowly I tested out and incorporated these things and these things that I was learning into my life. And it was only when I was comfortable and ready to do so. And RJX and the community kind of, they didn't, they were there with me to learn. Nobody said when I was learning the Sefer Chinuch, okay, you're doing that one now, right? Like we'd finish a mitzvah, like, okay, you got to go do that right now. No, it was about learning. And when I was ready to do things, that's when I did. It's hard to believe, just another quick story. This past Sukkot, I was on a train, and then I got into Metro Park, and then Shabbos was coming, and plans felt someone was going to pick me up, and it was a big mess. And essentially, long story short, I was on Route 27 in lots of traffic in a taxi cab, and the 18 minutes were slowly dwindling away. Of course, my cell phone battery was dying, didn't know what to do, trying to text people. Everybody already had started, they already went to daven and whatever, so I couldn't ask people for advice, whatever. And before you know it, I'm giving the taxi driver extra money and jumping out of the car and saying, okay, this is the address that I'm going to, hopefully you bring my stuff there, which included my work laptop, work cell phone, my cell phone, I think my passport even, my wallet. This was a little crazy. If you told me years ago that I would have done something like that, I just wouldn't have believed you. But I did, and then I got there, and he had only dropped off one of my bags. It didn't have my work laptop in it. I was like, oh man, what am I going to do on Monday? The whole mitzvah of being happy on the holiday is really difficult when you're freaking out about these kinds of things. But 5:30 in the morning, he came back, woke us up, and brought my bag back, and all worked out. Everything's good. Didn't have to tell them at work this weird story, because that would have been terrible. Really, what I learned from this is that, I don't know. I still don't have a completely clear picture of where I'm headed in this Jewish path and everything. But one thing I do know is, it's a little silly to say, oh, I'll never do that, or that'll never be, like, I can't ever do that. Like, you don't know what's in the future, and you don't know what you can handle. And it's really just about focusing on growth and enjoying everything that you're learning and doing now. So thank you all for being here, giving me the opportunity to share these stories on the day of my father's yahrzeit, no less. I guess it's hard to believe that this can't just be a coincidence that this event happened to be scheduled, and I have an opportunity to speak on the day of my father's yahrzeit. And really, I'm not normally one. My Karusas and friends will tell you I'm not normally the kind of guy to try and guess these types of things and put my finger on what the meaning and what the reason is. But maybe just a guess is that maybe it was so that he could hear these stories too. I mentioned at the beginning I don't have memories of him, but this preparing to share these stories and really reflecting over the past couple weeks, I came to a pretty big realization of really just how immature my thinking was to focus on that part and not realize that while I never knew him, he certainly knew me. And even though I was young, I can only assume that he cared greatly about the person I would become. And while I can't explain why this matters so much to me, I just hope that he's happy with who I am now, and that my continued growth in both Judaism and in all aspects of my life brings him pride and nachas in the soul world in Olam Haba.